a meditation. And what I found really amazing with you was your knowledge of breath work and how amazing it's pulled me out of heart palpitations. It's pulled me out of feeling overwhelmed. I mean, especially now during the times that we have right now, I would rarely refer to myself as someone who had an edge like that, that felt anxiety like that. And I think what's happening right now would be great to, if you could touch on a little bit. You had such a great story about how you got into breathing
Mm.
and how in depth you got into breathing practices.
So my first introduction to breath work was holotropic breath work when I was training as a hypnotherapist. On the last day, they invited a practitioner to come and invite us on a journey through holotropic breath work. And for me, it was a life-changing experience because first of all, I kind of aligned with the breath. My body or my spirit loved the breath,
Mhm,
and it felt very natural and easy and comfortable for me to be breathing in the way that I was guided to breathe.
mhm,
And almost immediately, I got into this bliss state, this ecstatic state, where you hear about, you get that sense of oneness, where you're
mhm,
connected to the whole
mhm.
universe in that moment. And I felt like I feel so amazing. And then I realized I was in the womb, and I realized that I was being born and I was being invited to go through this narrow passageway.
So wait, so was the breathing a meditation, like turning into meditation for you?
It's
Or
a
was it just
journey.
part of the whole experience of I'm asking you to describe this because there might be
Yeah.
people who are stumbled upon our video and
Mm.
wow, you're we kind of touched on that. And that's what I feel I'm here to do is to decode you a little bit and to
Hmm.
also help apply some of the woo woo so that I can you can really help to explain to what that experience would feel like. So that was like a vision that was coming to you as you were doing your breath work?
For me, it was absolutely visceral. It was
Oh,
a physical
okay.
reality.
Mhm.
I knew that I was in ecstasy. I could
Mhm.
feel that. That was like, this is excellent. This is
Wow.
so great. And then I felt like, oh, I'm in the womb. It just was like a knowing.
Mhm.
And I'm very grateful and to be fortunate enough to feel very comfortable
Mhm.
in those states,
Mhm.
in those spiritual realms. My spirit just goes, yay, we finally got you here. Let's do some fun things around this time, and let's make it a very positive physical and emotional experience. And that's usually been my experience. So therefore, I'm very inspired. I'm very motivated to invite people to come on in. This is really joyful ground and a
Mhm.
really joyful possibility. And for me to recognize I was in the womb was not startling. It was not like, oh no, I gotta wake myself up out of this. It's like, wow, that's amazing. Let's be present. Let's be curious. Let's be interested in really taking a look around in this terrain because it's not every day I get to go there in the womb. So when I was coming down the passageway, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was just like an easy glide
Mhm.
out of the body. And then I just kept, stroking my face and touching my face. And it felt so nurturing and so amazing to have that love. It
You
just
felt
felt,
that.
oh, I just
Oh,
felt
you
like
were doing it to yourself
I
as
was
well.
doing it.
You were doing it to so
And
you just felt compelled to do that.
I felt compelled to do that. And I kept wanting to do it because it was triggering all these great hormones. I was having a great cocktail of hormones going off in my
Right.
body. I was feeling like blissed out. I was in a love state. It felt like I was wrapped in love. It was an amazing experience. And when at that day I went to have lunch with my mom because she happened to be here, and I walked in, she
Oh, that
goes,
was here. Yeah, that
yeah,
was here.
that was
Mhm.
here in Marin when
Mhm.
I think it was 1996 when
Mhm.
that happened. And when I walked in, my mom goes, wow, you look great. what have you been doing? I said,
Mhm.
you will not believe what I've done this afternoon. It's like quite amazing. And I told her, I described the journey. And she said, well, that makes total sense. I'm like, it does? And she said, yeah, because your birth was really easy. You just, I was her third child. She'd had gas and air, and I don't know if that was what the ecstasy was about, because she was in a really relaxed state.
She was in a bliss state.
She was in a bliss state
Yeah.
during the birth, which
Mhm.
is really
Yeah.
interesting and not always
That was
like
not
that.
my experience. Yes.
Well, right. So there's a lot of things I feel really lucky about, and that's my childhood and my parents and all of those things I feel really blessed with. But then I described to her about the stroking of the face, and I said, I don't understand what that was. And she
Mhm.
said, well, I do. You were late, you were 2 weeks late, and your skin was dry, and the nurses were putting Vaseline
Oh,
on your
wow.
face. And I was like, so then that was that. I was
That's
hooked.
amazing.
I was then
So
committed.
it was really the converse. I mean, you already felt blissed out, and then
Yes.
you had a conversation with your mom, and
Yeah.
that was really what nailed it for you,
Well,
even more
the
so.
confirmation
Hmm.
sort of made me want to explore it professionally, so that I could share it with other people, and I could, you know, allow this sort of experience to be available to other people, because I knew instinctively that it was a healing experience.
Hmm.
It was such an elevated emotional state, and it was such a healing feeling
Hmm.
that I really felt interested in wanting to share it with other people. I was already training as a hypnotherapist, so I already knew I wanted to help people, working with their subconscious mind and overcoming traumas and things like that. But
Hmm.
this was an added bonus that I hadn't considered.
Hmm.
I didn't even think about it
Hmm.
until I experienced it. And then once I experienced it, I'm like, okay, I'm really on the path of exploring this. What I call that like a technology, like a spiritual
Yeah.
technology.
No, I
So
like
then,
that.
yeah, so then I studied various different breathing tools and techniques. Then I developed those techniques through the experience of working with my clients. And then I created my light breath. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the other part about you is you have so many different areas of expertise and things that you've really dove into. It wasn't just like a
Mm,
weekend thing
mm.
like yoga. So that's what I love about you. You always integrate all of those beautiful practices, and it really is integrative as far
Mm,
as the other couple weeks ago when I was here and we did all of the yoga practices. I mean, that was phenomenal for me.
mm.
It really mattered for me to just pull it all together and to be in my body. So, can you tell us a little bit about your yoga practices and
I
what you've done?
can, I can, and I think this is what happens when you're on purpose
Hmm.
and when you're connected to your path and your gifts. There's lots of synchronicities that come in, and the universe conspires to support
Hmm.
you in pulling out of you what's in you,
Yeah.
so that you can,
You're so open to that, though.
mm,
That's not
no,
everybody, darling.
no, no, but that's now, and I wasn't
Yeah.
always that way.
Hmm.
I learned through allowing those synchronicities to happen and to really listen. So this story will really illustrate that point
Oh, awesome. I love
quite
these.
well. So I was working. I had a client who, I really enjoyed, and I loved working with her. And she was a yoga teacher. And she would come to me and she'd say, you should come to my yoga class. And I'm like, yes, yes, I do like yoga. I'll come to you. So anyway, 2 years later, after her telling me, regularly
Hmm.
that I really should come to a yoga class, I arrived at her class, and she teaches this style of yoga called yin yoga
Hmm.
that really connects into the fascia, into the connective tissue, into the energetic system, into the chakras, which I was already educated in and aligned with.
You mean on the chakras and which part of what were you aligned in?
I was already aligned with the chakras
Okay.
and the energetic system. And so I knew that the energetic system was housed within the fascia.
Wow, you really are on purpose, aren't you?
Yes.
Because those aren't the yoga teachers I've ever run into.
All right. So when I went into her class and she started to teach it, I saw exactly how the body of work that I'd created up until then
Mhm.
really married beautifully with the body of work that she was
Wow.
creating from then. And because what I loved about it is it's an embodied practice,
Mhm.
and the chakras are in the body.
Mhm.
It's not in the brain, and it's not intellectual. It's an embodied experience. So
Mhm.
that just elevated everything up to the next level, and it's really one of those aha moments where you go, wow, that's why
Mhm.
she kept saying you should come to my yoga class. And yes, it took me 2 years,
Yes.
and the universe does do this, it'll keep reminding you. So she'd come in every month or so and say, you really should come to my yoga class. So anyway, I ended up training with her. I
Oh, you
interned.
trained directly with her. Okay.
Yes, well, I'd already trained to be a yoga teacher
Okay.
through the Sivananda tradition,
Mhm.
which I wanted. Sivananda is like the the yoga that came from the east to the
Mhm.
west, so it's pure tradition,
Okay.
pure traditional yoga. And I knew I wanted like a blank slate of traditional yoga because I knew I was going to do something with it,
Mhm.
but I didn't know what.
Mhm.
And I then interned myself with her for a couple of years, and we did an exchange. So I would support her in understanding coaching and intuition and that sort of work, and I would go be her assistant
Mhm.
and do the yoga classes. And I think there's nothing like that sort of training.
Mhm.
The training in Sivananda, I went to the Bahamas.
Oh.
Well,
Okay.
of course, I would go to the Bahamas because I thought it'd be great to go to Paradise Island, do yoga on the beach. It'd be really easy. Well, it was the hardest thing I've ever done because it was not easy. It was very, very challenging because they had what's called the Guakula system. And the Guakula system is you follow your teacher. You eat when they eat, you
Oh,
eat what they eat, you sleep when they sleep,
really?
you practice when they practice, you do the breath work when they do the breath work, you do everything that your teacher does.
Wow.
Yes. So
And
I was
everybody's doing that at the
everybody's
same
doing
time.
that. So we were up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We were going to bed at 10 o'clock at night, and we were nonstop. I had 1 hour a day to myself to go to the beach and do the beach.
Wow.
But so it was very intense, and it required, actually, and this is why it was difficult, an absolute surrender of ego. You didn't run your own schedule, you didn't make your own food, you didn't make your own
You
decisions.
didn't even choose your food. You were
No.
eating what your teacher was eating.
Yes. So I had lost 20 pounds. I was completely
Wow.
transformed.
How long were you there
A
for?
month.
A month?
A month.
You did that every day for 30
did.
days?
I
That's
did.
commitment.
So I feel like I earned my yoga
I think so.
certification. Really.
I think everybody did.
Yes.
Did anybody drop out?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yes. Oh yeah. No, not everyone gets through that. It's quite rigorous. It was on an ashram, and they're serious. They're going to teach you this tradition of yoga.
Well, I'm curious. How many people started?
100 people started.
How many
I
people
think
were left?
about 80.
Wow.
Yeah, about 80 kind of went through the whole program. And there's times when well, for me, I'll just speak for me.
Mhm, mhm.
There was times when I wasn't sure that I wanted to do that.
Michelle, I know. Wow.
Yes, I'm quite used
Well, you're
to.
committed for sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I'm quite used to making my own decisions, and eating what I want to eat, and practicing when I want to practice, and enjoying the whole
Sleeping when you can sleep.
Yes, exactly, the whole thing. So that put that stake in the ground and that foundation for me as a yoga teacher. And then in my journey with my teacher, Dina, her
Mhm.
name is, and she's a brilliant quite a famous yin
Mhm.
yoga teacher now, and she's gone on to do some really brilliant things in the world.
Is
That
she still in the Bay Area?
she's in Marin,
Mhm.
yeah, and she's still a yoga teacher.
Mhm.
And I recommend, if
Mhm.
you want to find out what she's up to, you can look her up, Dina Amsterdam. She's on Gaia.
Okay.
actually Gaia.
Really?
Yes, she's got a
Nice.
couple of classes that she does
Okay.
on
Well,
that.
we'll put links in the
Yes,
description of
yes,
this too.
yes, yes. So, but then I, put my layer of everything that I was learning before into the practices that she beautifully shared and
Mhm.
taught me. So then I created my own style of yoga called Inner Light
Inner light.
Yoga.
And
Yes.
was that also downloaded to you? Is that when it would come to you, or was it like when you were in practice, you
That
found your body moving a certain way, and
there, yeah,
I guess a little bit of
I
everything?
think it is. I think that's an embodied download.
Mhm.
Um, but when I get downloads, I know it's a download
Mhm.
because I have complete certainty and complete clarity. Yes, this is what
Wow.
I'm going to do, and this is how to do it, and there's no going back and going over it and moving this. It just comes in
Mhm.
complete, and this is it. And that's kind of how I move with my
Mhm.
downloads. So when I was writing my book, um, I was wanting it to come in a certain way,
Mhm.
and it was not going to come in the way that I wanted it to. It was like I wanted it to go from very sequential,
Right.
like obviously you learn about this thing and
Yeah.
then you learn about that thing.
Mhm.
And it came in an arm and then a leg and then a head and then a foot. And like, okay, so then I had to reorganize it so that it was sequential.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Took me, God, a couple of years. I would say 2 to 3 years, because when you're wanting your creative inspirations, they
I
don't
understand.
always come.
I totally, and I bet a
You
lot of
know,
people out there understand as well.
yes, yeah, they don't come when you want them or
Mhm.
when it's convenient. For me, they would come at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm. Yeah.
And I didn't sleep that well for that whole period of time. I would constantly be waking up, and after about a year, I
Mhm.
discovered that if I took my phone and did the voice memo
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
phone, that was the best way to capture that information.
Mhm.
Because if I thought, oh, I'll just write it down in the
Mhm.
morning, it's not the same
Mm-mm.
quality,
Yeah.
and it's not as clear, and it's harder to reach into it. So I knew I have to get up, so I used to get up and type it out on my computer.
Mhm.
Then as I got through years of this going on, I realized I'd just get the voice memo, capture this information, and then I would always share it with my group, with my clients, and touch base with how they felt about it and
Mhm.
were they getting benefits from it. And so I curated it and put it together with what was the best of the best and what really works,
Mhm.
with helping people resolve things.
Well, that's wonderful. Can you tell me about? I know you have a questionnaire on your
Yes.
site, and then tell us about that and how we can access some of this information that you've been downloading and sharing for so many
Yes.
years.
So, one of the most important things that I learned in working with clients, and I hadn't seen this anywhere else, I hadn't
Mhm.
seen it anywhere before. And it's why I created this front cover with my
Mhm.
7 little characters on the front of the cover. I discovered that, you know, when we go crazy, when we lose our minds or we go out of our emotional center, we don't do it in a random or a chaotic way. We do it in a very structured, very
We do?
predictable way. We do. Even
Because
though
it
it
because it doesn't feel that way.
right, so it can
Really?
feel, yeah, it can feel really random, and you can feel like you're the only one who has these thoughts
Oh, this
or
is fascinating.
this pattern, but you're not.
Okay.
So there's 7 predictable ways
Oh,
in
you're
which,
7. Let's see how
yes,
many of them are smiling.
they should all be smiling.
They kind of are.
They're my happiness archetypes.
Oh. Oh, isn't she cute? Okay.
Yeah. So they're my happiness archetypes. So when I discovered that there's 1 in 7 ways in which we can sort of lose our mind or get stressed, and
Okay.
mental patterns that start running and emotional patterns that
Mhm.
start showing up, I realized that they're archetypal in
Mhm.
their nature. So we have one of 7 different pathways that we're walking through this life. And on that pathway, we have predictable mental vulnerabilities, emotional vulnerabilities, and also the opposite, predictable mental strengths and predictable emotional strengths.
Okay.
So that led me into the idea that I could create a quiz where people could identify
Hmm.
the path that they're walking, and then they could identify for themselves sort of their red flag zones, like
That's amazing. I just have to be in awe of Michelle right now because it really is truly amazing what you've put together.
yeah, I thought that was one of my moments of brilliance.
Everyone has to do this.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I feel. I feel like, so when I say, we should have been taught these things in school, it's not that complicated or that hard to really know yourself and really support yourself in elevating into a place of harmony or a place of great expression of who you are. It's quite simple, it's got steps, it can be habituated. That's the habit.
That's
of
the habit of happy, hence the habit of
Yes,
happiness.
that's the habit of happiness.
Okay, I'm so intrigued.
Mhm.
Keep going.
So,
So the questionnaire, you're basically answer the questions, and then you are given
your
a
archetype.
number, your archetype, and
Yes.
yes.
So once you know your archetype, you're going to get a report, and it
Mhm.
will tell you on this report what your red flag zones are. So let's
Yes,
say,
I've taken the test. It's pretty accurate.
yeah. So let's say, for example, you're on the first path, and
Oh, I
you're
see.
the
You
chief.
did have that.
That's your
That was
archetype.
me.
Yes.
Look,
that
she
was
even
you.
looks like me.
Okay, so let's talk about the chief,
Oh, okay.
for example. So
no pressure.
when
Yeah.
stressed or challenged, the chief may fall into a mental conversation about not feeling safe,
Mm-hmm.
not feeling stable, not feeling secure, not
Totally.
knowing what the ground is that you're walking on.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what's predictable with the chief is emotionally, when stressed and when challenged, there's likely to be some irritability.
Well, yeah.
Anger
Mhm.
might be a mental pattern, but
Mm,
also
mhm.
what's valuable to know is that that's connected to the liver meridian, and you
No
might.
wonder mine's so jacked up.
There
No,
you go.
no, it's better now. It's healing. It's better.
Yes,
It's better.
nothing to do with alcohol,
Yeah.
but that's
No, no. Well, maybe not all of it.
so yeah, so it becomes fascinating, to discover that this is so predictably true. And I got to a point when I was working with my clients that I wanted a video camera on my shoulder to demonstrate
Mm,
when we get into talking with the subconscious mind,
mhm.
it will bring it right up,
Wow.
and it will say quite directly, this is the conversation that I go into when I'm stressed and challenged. And then also, what it would do is it would manifest itself in that place in the body. So if it's a first chakra vulnerability, then there's issues with that part of the body. If it's a third chakra vulnerability, there's issues with the stomach, and there's issues with digestion, and there's issues with anxiety. And so, what's also important to know is we're all everything, right? So we all have all of the 7 aspects to a greater or a lesser degree.
Right.
That's either balanced or imbalanced. So there's one main one
Right.
that will have what I call the core cry
Mhm.
of the main chakra. So the core cry of the first chakra is I'm not safe.
Mhm.
The core cry of the second chakra is I'm alone or I feel disconnected.
Mhm.
Third chakra is I'm unworthy, not deserving. The fourth chakra is I'm not lovable. Fifth chakra is I need to be in control or I can't express myself.
Mhm.
Sixth chakra is I'm confused. Seventh chakra is I feel disconnected from the universal flow or spirit. So,
And then even each one of those, as you said, relates to a certain body part or
Yes.
chakra. And then
Yes.
if you have a tendency to have, I mean, it's true, in doing acupuncture, that was one of the main things that we were addressing was my liver. Yeah.
Right.
And
I didn't know
gallbladder.
that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
And it made a lot of sense because during that time, I'll just say that the unsafety was financial, it
Mm,
was marriage, it was probably a lot of stuff just coming up from the past as well, which
mm.
had to do with safety and things like that. So yeah, it's been a journey and just healing that. And then there are other things too, like gallbladder, or what are some of the, well, I don't know if we want to get into that right now. I think what I'm really interested in doing is getting into, I'm loving that, Michelle. Well, why isn't this a webinar? This is so amazing, and I can see people filling out these forms, and you have a form of the ones and the twos, the chiefs and all the
Mm.
different categories, and doing the different. Well, you do have products too,
Yes,
right?
I
Meditations
do.
that you could do,
Oh,
but the
yes.
webinars, for, and that's what you want to do
Yeah.
too, I think.
So I've created the course. When I
Hmm.
wrote the book, I was really excited about putting together all of the information that takes you step by step from that lower aspect of self
Hmm.
to the highest aspect of self,
Hmm.
and everything that can be done to make a book transformative
Yeah.
was imbued
Hmm.
vibrationally into the book. But it still wasn't the full vision
Hmm.
of what I wanted to create, because I really wanted to provide people with the experience of transformation, with the experience of change,
Hmm.
with actually getting free of an old habit,
Hmm.
actually integrating in to the habit of happiness, knowing that you can elevate your happiness set point so that you can have a better experience of life and then start to create your life by design. So then it became clear
Hmm.
that what I really needed to do was make a course that provided all the tools,
Hmm.
all the meditations, all the yoga practices, um,
Are there yoga
everything.
practices that you also get to download when you,
Yes,
wow.
yes. So,
Are they videos? Are you leading them?
yes,
Oh, wonderful.
it's the closest thing. I mean, the course,
You've really done a lot.
yeah, it's really brilliant because,
I'm so happy that you're like one of my first content people that I'm
yes, me too.
interviewing, because this is so important. And I know that for myself, just working with you and in your intention and your love and your generosity and compassion. I'm so excited to be part of this with you, actually.
Yes,
So
and I'm excited to be part of this with you. I think
thank you.
we've got a nice marriage
I
going on.
think so.
We really do. And so the reason that I'm super excited about the course is it's the next best thing to having me as your guide.
Yeah.
And it's obviously much less expensive.
Hmm.
You know, if you see me one on one, it costs
So worth it.
a lot
So
more.
worth
Yes, and I love doing that
it.
work
Hmm.
too. But I'm really interested in reaching more
Yeah, I
people,
understand.
because I
You
think,
only have so much time in the day.
yes, so it's, but I
We need
think,
more playtime. That's
yes,
why.
and I think this needs to get to into more people's
I do
hands,
too.
you
That's why we're
know?
doing this.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
where do they go for the website? Where do they go to get in touch with you? I know on the website they can also take the questionnaire. That would probably be the first thing to do. And then all of your products are very well reasonably priced, I may say. So,
Yes.
I'm excited. So, where do they go?
So for the courses, you want to go to michellebradshawcanty.com, and we're going to provide the link for
Hmm.
that. And, for some of the tools, you can go to lifeguidestp.com, life guides, not toilet paper, transformation programs. Um, Life Guides Transformation Programs is lifeguidestp.com. And on there, you'll see all the tools. And, I don't want people to get overwhelmed. So I think the best thing to do, as you said, take the quiz first.
Hmm.
That will bring you into your report where you'll find out, which of these paths are you on. That will channel you into a couple of tools that you
Yeah.
very
And you
inexpensive.
can read about your archetype without paying for it
Yes.
too. So that's also, that's valuable. But the doing the meditations and having the downloads is really amazing. I know, because I